Wanted, seeking of the highest decree, the child of sky, born to the name Veda Vindigrov, current age 24, fair of skin, blonde of hair, and teal of eyes. She has received the mark high upon her right arm and must not be trusted. Any known whereabouts of such a demon shall be brought forth to the order at once. Let no man fall heed to this devil's disguise, for the powers of Nizodal have drenched her soul, and she must be washed clean before entering the gates of Arcade. Reward for her capture has been increased to 100 gold pieces of any currency. Any harboring or unwillingness to bring forth her whereabouts will be met with the severest of punishments. Go forth and carry in the light.
Hell yeah. That's cool. Did you actually show up the picture to the camera?
I didn't.
Oh, yeah,
You
that's
missed
cool.
it.
No, I
You missed
saw
it.
it. I saw a glimpse of your vision.
That's all you're going to get. That's all you're going to get.
Well, with that, welcome everybody to D&J's Epic Quest. I am Justin, and this is
This episode I will go by Dren.
Dren.
And you will soon find out why.
Right, exactly. I guess this is technically a side quest, isn't it? I said Epic Quest instead of side quest, but I guess they can merge into one since we're going to cover this a little bit more thoroughly than we would in a side quest episode.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about this, and, we're a self-published podcast. I mean, you do all the work for that, and now we're going to cover a self-published author, which I think is pretty cool. So I hadn't mentioned this to you as we texted, but what do you think about calling this the self-published spotlight?
I like it.
It seemed a little hesitant, so I wasn't sure at first.
No, I wasn't expecting any of that. So
Okay.
me and my brain had to think. I'm like, okay, yeah, self-published podcast. Or wait, what? What was it? I already forgot.
Self-published spotlight.
Self-published spotlight. No, I like that.
Yeah.
I definitely like that. But so I guess, our normal following is definitely Malazan, Books of the Fallen, and the Malazan novels of the Malazan Empire. I would, after reading the first two chapters of this book, I would recommend it. Like I was hooked pretty quickly. So if all y'all Malazan fans are looking for something else, I would definitely just pick this up and give it a shot and see what you think.
And if you don't know what we're talking about yet, we are talking about the book is called The Curse of the Fallen, written by H.C. Newell, and it's a beautiful cover. And that's really kind of what drew me to it at first. Is like I saw this book, and I'm like, holy crap, got to read this and see what it's about. And I showed it to you, and I feel like you kind of had the same reaction.
Yeah, it was a very beautiful cover. Very, I like the colors. I like the contrast. Very vivid, very vivid. So
Definitely
spoke to me as an artist. But yeah, I guess how have you been?
good. It feels like Friday, but it's not.
It definitely does. Yeah. This week has been really, really busy at work. So this next week should kind of wind down. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been a pretty busy week for me as well. Yesterday was my stepdaughter's 13th birthday. Today was the other one's birthday, so they're 14 now. So we got a 14 and a 13-year-old. They're both at their other parents for this week, but we had dinner with them last night. We went to Olive Garden, and it was a good time. Nice to just have just us four eating, and we gave them their gifts and everything. So.
Well, happy belated to your kiddos there. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Well, can't forget our Patreon shout-outs. We actually got another one, Patreon named Nate. Jan, the Picker of Pies. Luciana, you didn't type it in our little document here. What was it?
Oh, I didn't know. I haven't been back in there. Our Lady of Fantasy.
Luciana, Our Lady of Fantasy. Ryan, the Topological. Damien, the Rock of Faces, and Nate, Fiddle Me This. So thank you all for your patronage. We really, really appreciate your support.
Yeah, it was exciting because we gained like 2 in like a week or something like that.
That is a first.
I don't know.
That's definitely a face first for us. So it's super cool. Again, still a bit surreal, still baffled by it, but I mean, I guess if anything, we're making things that people like. So that's good.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what do you say? Should we hit chapters 1 and 2 of Curse of the Fallen here?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Sure. So there are, I guess, two different orders here that the book brings to life before we even start reading. And the first one here is the 5 tenets of what is called the Order of Sorrow. The first tenet is the Circle of Six must be praised above all else. The second tenet, never dishonor the high priest. The third tenet, always obey the laws of the order. The fourth tenet, the impure must be made righteous. The fifth tenet, magic is the purest form of darkness, and these born of its power must be purged. So, quick little cool thing about the Order of Sorrow is that, according to the notes from the author in the book that we have, it was apparently, well, not apparently, it was a play on words for sorrow. And she just loved how the Order of Sorrow sounded. So just upon this first read through, I kind of get like I'm immediately taken to the Children of Light from the Wheel of Time. Is kind of the impression that I get with this particular order. Not that they're exactly the same by any means, but just kind of that like.
Interesting. I didn't think of that. And I guess, yeah, we haven't met them in these first 2 chapters yet. Without having met them yet, I guess that makes sense. I think I can see that, unless we find out otherwise here when we come across them.
Right. Yeah. It's just, I'm just going off of the impure must be made righteous. So
the vibe, yeah.
Based on kind of, some of the things that are revealed in these 2 chapters, that's more or less kind of, I'm getting that they are the bad guys, so to speak, which is really cool that there's all this like planned history around them, just to go that much in depth with just 5 simple little tenets here speaks volumes. So I thought that was super clever. And then did you want to do the other one or did you want me to do it?
Sure. I guess, yeah, I can do it. I wouldn't have thought to put these in, so that was awesome of you to include these.
Yeah.
The 5 tenets of the Broken Order Brotherhood. I think we should just call it the 5 tenets of Bob.
Yeah, there we go. Battery operated boyfriend, right?
Jesus. Not where my mind went at all. I was just thinking of a guy named Bob, but all right.
So is she.
Jesus. The first tenet of Bob, abandon your faith in the Circle of Six. The second tenet, never dishonor the brotherhood. The third tenet, renounce the order and all its teachings. The fourth tenet, all living things are born of equality. And the fifth, magic is the purest form of energy, and those born of its power shall set us free.
So my first impression when reading this was that like clearly these 2 tenets are at odds with each other.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I guess it's just really cool to just have these entities that you really don't have any context to outside of these tenets, and you already kind of get a sense of, I guess, some of the conflict that may be happening in this universe.
Just kind of what you could perceive being built up. Yeah, just based on those 2 things.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's again an epigraph for each of these chapters that I've noticed so far, and the one that kind of starts off the book is Divine's grace is fleeting and warm. Whosoever challenge it be warned. The love of the Father carries the many. The souls of the wicked be burned aplenty. Prayer to Rothar, overseer of the immortal plane. That was really cool. What it means, I'm not really sure at this point in time, but still pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm a fan of these epigraphs in these, in Malazan and now in this too. I'm glad they're there. It just, like, even if we don't know what they mean, it just adds a little bit extra.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I guess without further ado, here's chapter 1, titled A Ray of Hope. And the epigraph for this chapter is, Beware the child, wicked and torn, who shall carry your soul into the valley of darkness. Seek the light, O brother, and cleansed of fury and wrath. And be cleansed of fury and wrath. And that was from High Priest Bainan. I apologize to the author in advance. We will probably butcher a lot of these names, even though there's a beautifully laid out character. I don't even know what you would call them. I just know it as a dramatis personae now. Yeah, catalog of characters with their proper spelling. So if we butcher some, I apologize, but we'll get it eventually.
Oh, we got Bob, and now you got Cock. Catalog of characters.
I hope she laughs at this and doesn't be like, you all suck.
I'm pretty sure she'll have a good laugh.
Based on some of the things I've read in this first chapter, I'm pretty excited, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Anyway.
You're going to have to remind me.
Yeah, I'll point it out for you.
Sounds good.
So here we go. Ebbard fell forward when his binds were cut. He clutched his wrists and got to his feet. He stepped over the body of the fallen mercenary. He complained to his savior that they could have come earlier. His savior pulled her scarf down and stepped into the light. She asked Ebbard if he was hurt. Ebbard straightened and brushed his shirt. He explains to the woman that he was fine, outside of his head almost being bashed in and almost losing his tongue. She didn't hide her teasing very well when she made her reply to him. Ebbard laughed and told her to get on with it, as he's got a headache and he needs some medicine. She pointed to the door and told him to wait there, as Gil was coming with herbs and potions. Ebbard found himself a chair as the young woman rummaged around the small cabin. She dug through the pockets of the dead mercenary's body and pulled out a scroll. Ebbard, from his chair, asked if that was it. Was all this for a note? She moved to the fire at the hearth, read the note, and then tossed it into the flames. Ebbard asked again what it was. The woman told him that it was a bounty, and apparently they still thought she had blonde hair. Ebbard said that this was a relief that the wanted poster had the wrong hair color. He did ask about her eyes, though. Sounds like her eyes were the only things unchanged by the procedure, so it made it her most recognizable features for those that were seeking her. The door creaked open, and she immediately brandished her sword. Her outburst caused Ebbard to nearly fall out of his chair. The door creaked open, and a gray tabby cat strolled into the room. She recognized the tabby, and then she sheathed her sword, and then removed a small box and a bundle of clothing from her satchel. Where the tabby cat once was came a gust of hot air and a bright light. Gil, a pint-sized Dreled, wearing nothing but his birthday suit, was standing where the cat had once been. Gil would often choose animals less conspicuous instead of greater beasts. Dreleds were empathetic and kind, leaving them opposed to war and greed. Ebbard sang out to Gilbrich and asked if he came to patch him up. He takes a jab at Near, the young woman, who had risked his life for so she could find her little trinket. Gil thanked Near as she handed him his clothes and he got dressed. Near found herself admiring the scar that he had received during a fight with the Knight of the Order, as it made him look fiercer than typical for his kind. Gil told Near to throw another log on top of the fire as he pulled a small wooden crate over to Ebbard. Gil was now eye level with Ebbard as he started to put paste over Ebbard's wounds. Ebbard had only been held captive for about an hour, but it was still enough time for the mercenaries to do what they wanted with him. Near was completely against Ebbard's idea of being used as bait and now saw himself at the end of a bad plan. Ebbard complained about the paste being applied and that it smelled terrible. Gil revealed that it was frog shit and herbs, and that it should smell bad. Gil ignored the disgusted face Ebbard gave and asks Near what she found. Near explained that she found a bounty in the mercenary's pocket, and she's worth 100 gold pieces. Ebbard cheers and says that it's 50 more than it was last time. Gil smacks Ebbard's chest and tells him to be quiet. Gil then tells Near to keep looking as the Arun Has to be around here somewhere. Gil asks Neri, as he called her, what was up with the Aaron anyway. Neri scoffs and tells him that she's explained it 100 times. She calls him by his given name, which was Lork. Sorry, it wasn't Gil asking Neri, it was Ebbard. Ebbard asks Neri about the Aaron, and she calls him by his given name, which was Lork. She explains that she was cursed as a child, and if she used her magic, the Order could track where she is. The Aaron could lift her curse, though, and that's why they're looking for it. Lork asks why she couldn't just refrain from using magic. And on another note, why was it that these shadow blades had the Aaron anyway? Dust swirled around the room as Nier continued to look for the Aaron. As she looked, she explained that an Aarons are extremely rare and worth a lot of coin. On top of that, a mage not using magic is like Delvine breathing out of water. Could they do it? For sure, but it's hard as fuck to do. Lork made a cat-collie whistle as he said that the Delvine are some fine-looking creatures. He asks Gil if he's ever seen their paintings. Gil scoffed and told Lork that he's the right to sleep with a Delvine as he was the kitchen wench. Or he has a right to sleep with the Delvine as much as he was the kitchen wench. Lork explained that Veda was a fine woman. Nier teased him that if he had to pay a wench to sleep with him, then what chance would he have at wooing the most exotic women to bed? Lork said that it didn't take much to woo her. She shook her head at his attempt at flirting. Nier had pulled the bed across the floor and observed a thin line in the wood on the floor. She attempted to pull it up with her fingers, but it fell back in place. It was suggested that she use her dagger, as Lork observed her frustration. She carefully lifted the plank, and as she did, spiders raced from beneath the flooring. Nier dug and eventually found a stone box with foreign symbols engraved on it. She said that this was it, the Aaron. Inside was an energy strong enough to lift her curse, a curse that she had since childhood and kept her within the clutches of the Order of Sorrow. Once she opened this box, everything would change for her. The years of suffering and fear would be at an end. She would no longer have to hide or run or look over her shoulder. She would finally be free. She opened the box and black smoke billowed free. It was accompanied by a high-pitched shriek. Gil and Lork fell back, covering their ears with their hands. Nier put the lid back on and the world was silent again. Nier was disheartened as she realized that the Aaron was enchanted and she cannot obtain the energy inside. Lork said that this was great, as this was exactly what they needed. Gildhim told him to quit his bitchin' and to let them think. Nier could be seen holding the box as a tear ran down her cheek. She explains that she had been looking for this for 4 years now, and this was her only chance, as nothing else was working, or had worked. Lork came over and attempted to console her, telling her that they can take it to Ryman and the scholars, and they'd find a way to disenchant it. She scoffed, and another tear fell down her face. She could only imagine what her father, Ryman, would say, knowing that she failed again. To know that what she had found was what she has been searching for, but wasn't wise or strong enough to understand this power. Ryman had warned her of the perils and dangers of this quest. Her thoughts eased as Lork took her into his embrace. Gil was standing on a chair, looking out the window. He tells the two that they've got a problem. Nier and Lork went to the window and observed that the village was empty. Suddenly, a shadowy figure flew past the window. Lork snapped back from the window in alarm as the others sat motionless. Gil explained that the shrieking the box made must have been some kind of an alarm, as it seemed to have called a mark. Lork's voice was trembling as he explained that he thought those were not real. Gil said that they were real all right, and they were nasty fuckers to dispel. The small cabin shook as black smoke engulfed the cabin. Nier explained that only magic could destroy a mark. Lork tells her to get on with it then. Nier explains that she's not strong enough to defeat it, and besides, do they really want the Order of Sorrow at their doorstep if she tries to use her magic? Lork starts to complain when Gil tells him to quit bitching again. He demands that she teleport them out of there. Nier tells Gil that teleportation could rip them all to shreds. Thorke adds that the order would just follow them to their hideout. Gil tells them all that it's better to be followed than dead. As they sat debating on what to do, the cabin violently shook again. The roof collapsed and the floor buckled beneath their feet. Gil pleads to Nier that they've got to teleport, as if they breathe in the smoke, they'll be dead. Nier says that she can't. Gil tells her to just do it now. As the smoke approached them, Nier grabbed her companion's hands and closed her eyes. Magic surged through her, and she could feel the warmth of it in her chest. A soft glow formed around her, enveloping her friends, and then they disappeared. So yeah, pretty enticing first chapter. It's like no small village with like 5 friends and strangers come to visit and take them away. Just like right into the action, you know?
Yeah, it was kind of different. And then, you know, to find out they've been friends for like 4 years or whatever, they've been together. Definitely a different spin.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a lot of mystery as well. So I guess we'll just kind of start off with some of the cool stuff that we picked out, right? When Nier asks Ebbard if he's hurt, it's explained that she was hundreds of miles from her home, the southern reaches of Ravenshire, a region where the outskirts bordered that of the forbidden and dangerous elvish country of Vleeland. And it was said that everyone from here to the furthest reaches of Skye knew that southern Ravenshire was a place meant for the most dangerous of men or the foolish of wanderers. I would imagine that this world that we're being introduced to is all confined into Skye, continent of Skye, the land of Skye. So,
did you look at the map at all?
Oh yeah, I totally checked out the maps.
The maps are really well done, I think.
So when Ebbard is like, hey, well, you couldn't have come fast enough because, you know, I almost had my head bashed in and I almost lost my tongue. And she was just like, I guess I forget exactly what she said, but she was like in a teasing manner said like, oh, well, that would have been a bad thing. You know, like he's good with his tongue, you know, eating pussy is kind of what I got out of that based on some of like the sexual teasing and flirtation that I picked up in this chapter. So that's what I'm assuming it meant. I guess that can be a question for the author if we really want to know. But yeah.
Justin wants to know.
I do. Yeah.
I did not. Yeah. Didn't cross my mind.
All right. Well, no worries there then.
Even as you were like reading, I didn't really pay attention to your comments on the side as you were reading it. So I was like trying to think about what you would have, you know, where that would have been. Because even as you read through it, I still didn't pick it up. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well. No worries. Just, you know, again, you know, the chemistry between these two characters, you know, very flirty, but like friendly flirting, you know, like maybe a friends with benefits type of relationship, maybe. Whether that's right or wrong, I guess I'm not sure. That's probably a Raphael moment as we read more about these characters, but that's just kind of my first impressions, I guess.
Digging for the smut one chapter into the book.
Yeah, exactly. So what's cool about this wanted poster that she pulls off of this mercenary is she underwent a changing many years ago to alter her appearance so that it was more suitable for like a lifestyle of hiding. So, and apparently this changing doesn't have a high success rate. So either people end up horribly disfigured or dead. And it doesn't seem that anything was changed or everything was changed for Nier except her eyes. So that was how most people could recognize that this was who they were looking for.
So it was, you would say it was probably successful.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part. Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, I hope we get, you know, some more characters that we meet that maybe this changing didn't go so well for them.
You just have like the Gimp running around from Pulp Fiction or something.
Never saw that movie.
What? Oh my God. All right. Never mind.
I mean, I know enough about it, you know. Well, maybe I don't, but because I didn't know about the Gimp. But at the end of the day, I've seen many memes about Pulp Fiction.
Probably John Travolta, like, looking around with his hands out or whatever.
Yeah, and Sam Jackson be like, "Do I look like a bitch?" So,
oh man, that's such a good movie.
yeah. The Dreled is like a shape-shifting halfling. So they can shapeshift, and they only choose kind of like inconspicuous animals, really, instead of beasts. Or maybe not necessarily
was that all of them, or was that just Gil?
I think that was just Gil.
I thought that was just Gil. Right. Yeah. Okay. That's how I took it too.
Yeah. And, after he shifted out of the tabby cat, he was in his birthday suit. And the way that it was described is that it was pretty much just like covered in hair. His whole body covered in hair. So like It from Cousin It from
Addams Family.
Yeah, there it is. And then, Nier hands him his clothes.
I didn't catch that, I guess, because I was thinking about that, because a rapid change like that happens in the second chapter as well, and I don't remember if it was mentioned or not, but I was like, I wonder how that works. But I just missed it in this first chapter.
Gotcha.
Or I didn't remember, so.
That's fair. And then one of the other sections here is Ebbard or Lork, as Ebbard is kind of like, I would imagine, like his alias, and Lork is just reserved for his most truest of friends or family. It sounds like he planned, like this was something that he planned to do. He planned to use himself as bait in what I would imagine an attempt to give Nier her a run.
I was thinking Ebbard was his last name, but maybe that's not the case.
I mean, according to the front of the book, it says Ebbard and then Lork.
Also, I don't know if you noticed, in my chapter, I spelt his name with 2 L's, so I did a lot of extra work for nothing. I just fucked up his name.
Yeah, it's all good. It's kind of like Leloid, right?
Leloid. Yeah, Lelork.
Lelork.
No, I'm kind of pissed off I did that. I don't know why. That's because I was reading it as I was summarizing, so I don't know. My eyes were playing tricks on me, I guess. So I saw 2 L's apparently.
Maybe. I mean, it can't be any worse than me calling Salk Elon Salk Ebon. So I missed that one.
No worries.
Yeah. A cool thing, we got a little explanation at the bottom of the page when it was talking about a Knight of the Order. And I'm assuming this means the Order of Sorrow. And this was fucking dark as hell. It looks like the Knights of the Order are taken as infants, either by trade or by force. So, and then they were genetically modified and brutally trained. Only males were allowed, and their tongues were sliced from their mouths, communicating with only hand and arm gestures. God fucking damn it. Like, how absolutely brutal is that? And so basically, if you're a parent in this situation, it's either you trade your child and get nothing. That's fucked up, right? Like, you either trade your child or you get nothing.
Yeah,
and your child gets taken away anyway.
I got kind of like Unsullied vibes a little bit from Game of Thrones, mixed with like the Aiel, because of the hand talking and everything.
Yeah, I could see that. I could totally see that.
Except it sounds like they're just assholes. So it doesn't sound like they're good people. Yeah, kind of, again, a little bit more of a fucked up version of the Children of Light, but their own entity and identity. But yeah, the other thing that I picked out was Shadow Blades, were, I guess, the mercenary band that was led into this cabin to be, to tie up Ebbard or Lork. So I guess it was just cool to have a name for them instead of just mercenaries. Yeah, it's just seems like it's thought out, and just well thought out. Yeah. Meaning behind it. Delvine, these beautiful but deadly semi-aquatic race that dwell in the waters around the Isles of Irasan. Because of their presence, that the Isles have been abandoned and prohibited by visitors, ghost stories of sinking ships, disappearing islanders, and illnesses that overtook the surrounding lands have ingrained within the humans the fear of the dangerous isles to the north. So
I'm getting like an image of like some sexy sirens, you know? And I kind of align with Lork here.
Well, you can have at it.
Yeah. I like how much thought is going into like the background for these characters. And it isn't really it's not hidden from us as the readers. Like, here it is. These are what the Delvines are. So reading those little footnotes at the bottom of the pages are really cool because it just adds
Yeah, which
like extra, lore.
for sure. Yeah, we should add. We both have I don't know what you want to call it, like the collector's editions of these books. And yeah, on some of the pages, there's little footnotes from the author, her thoughts and stuff, which are pretty cool. Like where you got that tidbit that you were talking about here with
Yeah,
the Delvine. So those are fun to read, and yeah, it just kind of gives you a little bit more background into what's going on
yeah. It's
without having to like wait for it, I guess.
I've never seen that in a book, so
No, not like that. No, I haven't either. And maybe there's others that do it, but we just haven't read those books.
well, it's not any different than having a glossary at the beginning of the back that explains what it is, except you don't have to look; it's just on the same page.
True. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
And I mentioned this before, but I'm really digging, the chemistry between all three of these characters. Gil seems to be the more pragmatic one. Like, hey, like, let's get you healed and let's get the fuck out of here. Where Lork is just kind of that playful one, the comic relief potentially. I guess I don't know exactly where that's going. And Near, she's the one that's on this journey, right? So I'm liking the dynamic so far.
Yeah, it was certainly a fun first chapter to read.
Yeah. The last thing that I had is I know that after Near was, basically had her heart broken when she realized that this A run or this trinket that she was looking for was enchanted and she couldn't obtain the energy inside, thus not allowing her to cure her curse. Uh, Lork is kind of being an asshole here and being sarcastic when he's just like, "Oh, great, that's exactly what we wanted." Right
Yeah.
after that, she pretty much just starts crying or in the middle of her tears. So those were the cool. Like, those were like the really only like cool things that I wanted to like talk about. The mark, the shadowy figure was really cool with the billowing smoke, and it seems like they're not often seen as they seem to be, like a bedtime story you tell your children because Lork was like, I didn't know they were real.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed I don't know. I guess I don't really know what you envisioned, but I almost kind of envisioned like a ghastly from Pokemon flying around or something.
I was thinking Myrdal,
Okay.
Grail, kind of not necessarily like faceless or anything, but just kind of like those like ominous, like hooded, like floating, smoky figures,
I think I like that better.
or like like a wraith of some kind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to pick and see Newell's brain about how she came up with a lot of these things and like what her inspirations for them were.
Well, I'm sure we will get that opportunity when we talk to her.
Yeah. Well, I guess did you have any other thoughts for this awesome opening chapter?
Just kind of that last scene that we get where she's grabbing her friends and then they disappear. Just it made me think a lot of that scene that we just finished up in Deadhouse Gates not too long ago. I don't know why because they're very different, but where Fellison and Heberick arrive at Shaik's body, and their hair standing up,
Yeah,
and obviously they're disappearing. But I don't know. It just gave me similar vibes.
gotcha. I could see where you're going.
Even though they're totally opposite. They're getting the hell out of Dodge, and Fellison and Heberick were arriving. But I don't know. As opposite as they were, it just made me think of that.
Yeah. I enjoyed the headcanon that I had throughout this whole chapter. I could envision everything that was happening. You're immediately pulled in, because you're like, why the fuck is this dude in binds? Like, what's going on here? What are they looking for? What does all this mean? And, it sounds like she's been cursed from early childhood. And I don't know if that means like magic. I don't know if that means something else. That's what I'm thinking she means is that like she's cursed with the ability to like wield magic, and this Aaron is there to take it away from her, really make her normal.
I guess I felt like she was born with it, with magic, and that's the curse, I guess.
I don't know.
Not that we'll have to see.
I guess we'll have to read and find out.
We will.
All right. Well, what do you think? Should we kick off the chapter 2 here?
Sure.
All right.
Chapter 2 is called The Eye of the Storm. And our epigraph here says, "Let the blood of the unworthy be washed by the 6, for no creature impure shall ascend to Arche and be marked as an angel of the blessed." Rotharion, Book of Light. As the rain fell into the trees, a wailing shriek woke near. The sound stayed in her mind even as it faded. As she tried to get up, she realized she was tied to the ground with vines. Panic set in, but she gave a push and was able to escape what binded her. Standing in the forest, she wondered where she was. Her homeland, Lynn, was to the east of the cabin the group had quickly fled. This was also where she was hoping her magic would take her. Titty! Thanks, Kelly. My wife decided to type that in. My computer was up and she just typed it. Didn't know what was going on. It was funny and it worked out, so I left it. Though, since she had not had training in teleportation, it was wild, unpredictable, and dangerous. She checked herself over, making sure she hadn't received any injuries and that she had all of her gear. She had never attempted to travel so far or use her magic on anyone else. She wiped rain from her face and looked around, realizing she was alone. She called out, "Look, Lorik." That's probably why I had 2 L's, was because of that. Her voice was weak, but she pushed it out, causing her to wheeze. She stumbled back and clutched her chest, breathing deep as she slipped into panic. They could be anywhere. In Lynn, back in the cabin with the mark, in the marsh. She pushed away any and all dark thoughts, knowing that those wouldn't help find her friends. With her magic depleted, she knew she wouldn't make it back to the cabin or her homeland, where she hoped Lorik and Gil were. She knew weak magic was more dangerous than untrained. She called out for her friends again. Looking around the land, she knew it was too green for the rocky hills she called home. She braved the storm in the unfamiliar woods, hoping she would find her friends again. She was still weak from teleporting. She had learned that magic was an expression of energy, and exerting it would deplete it. The more one trained, the more they strengthened their magic, and the more proficient they became. Though Nier couldn't do that because it would call down the Order of Sorrow, though as she had grown, she had learned a few things. She first teleported at the age of 5 when a knight of the Order came for her. She panicked and thought of home, and that's where she was when she opened her eyes. 2 days later, apparently, as her mother said she was in a coma. The magic had nearly killed her and had weakened her so. When she was 7, she had healed a frog that some other kids had broken its legs for fun. She was angry and sad, and she took all the energy she had and pushed it into the small creature. It was healed, and she had depleted herself once again. A few days later, she skinned her knee and tried to heal herself, but found out it didn't work that way. A crack of thunder brought her back to reality. She called out for Lorik and Gil again. As she walked upstream, she spotted 2 figures. They were sitting back to back. As she got closer, she was able to recognize Lorik's curly hair. He saw her too and cried out that she was alive. She gasped as she saw Gil. Red splatters everywhere as she looked at his arm hanging on by sinew and muscle. She asked if he could heal her. He was only able to whimper. Tears formed in her eyes. She knew the damage was caused by her magic. She lightly touched his arm and he screamed out in pain. She knew his wound was too much for her to heal. She didn't have the magic within her to do it. He would bleed out in an hour's time, and it would be her fault. She told him he would be fine and that she wouldn't let him die. Nier told Lorik to hold Gil tight as he was screaming. She put his bones together and put every ounce of herself into the wound as she could. She wouldn't stop until he was healed or until she was dead. "Nier," Lorik called, stopping her, saying she had done enough. She collapsed, hardly able to breathe. Lorik dug through her pack and found a potion, popped the top, and told her to drink it. As she recovered, he called over to Gil, asking how he was. He said he should have turned into a raven and flew away, leaving the jump to the 2 of them. Lorik told him that she had nearly died saving him, so give her some respect. He countered, saying if she didn't expend so much energy, none of them would be in this position. Lorik looked at Nier in his arms and asked why she just can't live without magic. It only causes trouble, and they should have never gone to the mercenary camp. Gil said he should stop bitching. They're in it now, may as well get their stuff and get on with it and find their way home. Lorik asked which way was home. Gil said he would take a look around, asked if he would protect her while he took a look from another vantage. Lorik said to get on with it. Gil transformed into a falcon and flew off. He told Nier he would protect her as he drew a knife. After what felt like forever, and he was soaked to the bone, Nier finally began to move. Lorik was excited, and he told her he thought he would have to carry her out. She looked around, confused, and asked why they were still here and where the hell was Gil. Lorik said he hadn't seen Gil in ages and that he was off looking for somewhere to hide. Damn it, she said. Then she told him they had to go. They couldn't stay here. Gil could find them. She started to walk north. He asked her where she was going. She only told him north. He asked, well, what's in that direction? She told him to think about where they are. Where else would have weather like this? They were in Vleland, and if they didn't find somewhere else to go, something else would find them. Humans were banned from all elven territory, and Vleland was home to Nyx, a race of cannibal elves. Mist shrouded the hills ahead as Nier was nervous about what may be in them. Thunder struck, and lightning flashed. She turned to the east and caught a glimmer, and she stopped dead. Lorik said those were only tales. Mid-sentence, she covered his mouth. He didn't try to speak as red spots appeared ahead of them. Blue cats with red spots and 7 tails came forth. He asked what the hell they were. She said they were Dren. They were supposed to be creatures from legends and ghost stories who stalked their prey before ripping them apart. He begged her to do something. Its growl cut through the air. Lorik stumbled back fearfully, and the animal leapt. Nier shot out a hand and blasted the cat with pure energy. It tumbled away angrily, and another cat came after them, and she used her magic on it also. A third, smaller Dren leapt for her neck with its claws out. Her sword caught it in the neck, and blue blood spilled. Lorik yelled for her. She turned, and another cat was in the air. Its claws caught her in the arm, but she plunged the sword in its side. They fell, and she kicked the beast away. Her pain was intense, but she couldn't afford to lose focus with 4 of the cats remaining. They all came at her at once. She dropped her sword, lifted her hands in a defensive way. Despite the rain, she was sweating. A Dren leapt, and she caught it by the throat and used the help of her magic to crush its throat. She threw it aside as it struggled to breathe. She curled her hands into half fists. Mud and grass flew through the air as the animal's legs struggled and tried to gain footing. Fighting for control with her magic, she closed her fists. Once the last Dren stopped breathing, she released her grip on her magic. She dropped to her knees and watched the red spots fade from the felines' lifeless bodies. Lorik stood by and watched as more of the animals gathered. Before she could warn him, one leapt from the mist and took him to the ground, slashing him. She teleported over to him and stabbed the fucking cat in the back and then managed to kick it off of him. She put her hands on him to heal him, and when she heard footsteps behind her, she turned with her sword ready, realizing that it was Gil, and he was in the form of a Dren. They climbed onto his back and raced away. The other Dren quickly followed. Nier tried to hold them back with weak blasts of energy, but she was so exhausted it was no use. She said they were going to catch them. What were they going to do? Gil kept running, over and through rivers, through cemeteries and tombstones, and into a cave. Gil had transformed mid-leap into the cave. He said it wasn't him who prompted the change. It must have been some sort of defense. Nier turned to the entrance of the cave where the Dren paced back and forth. The biggest one looked at Nier and leapt. As it crossed the plane of the cave mouth, it turned to ash. She lowered her sword, confused by what she had seen, but she saw a shimmer of a magical barrier. She turned her attention back to Lorik and his injured back. She did what she could to heal him, though it was not completely healed. She collapsed, her skin going pale and blue veins around her eyes becoming obvious, her skin shrinking. Gil snapped his fingers to try and keep her conscious. She couldn't keep her focus. He lifted a canteen to her lips and told her to drink slow. It was only water, but time was the only thing that would heal her now. Lorik asked what happened and where they were. Gil told him to take a seat and asked how he was feeling. Lorik said he was feeling better, but what happened to Nier? Gil asked if he was brain dead and said that she had just healed him, nearly killed herself in the process to save his sorry ass. Lorik asked why she did such a stupid thing. With some of her last remaining energy, she slapped him in the face. Lorik yelped, asking what that was for. Gil said she probably didn't like having her intelligence questioned. Lorik gave in and said he owed her one for the trouble. Nier took a breath and managed to say, 2. He could only laugh and ask Gil where they were. Gil went to the entrance of the cave and picked up the errand that Nier had dropped and tucked it away and said this was Anameral, the ancient home of the Enclave. Lorik said that he thought they were a myth. Gil said they were very real and very dangerous. Great, Lorik said. What the fuck are we going to do now? Gil said they would ride the storm out and head for Lynn at dawn. The wife would have his head if he wasn't home come the morning. Lorik said he hoped they made it home. Vleland wasn't a place for their kind, and if the Knicks found them, Gil told them to shut up. There was no point in bringing up problems that didn't exist yet. They were alive, and that's enough for now. Lorik asked for how long. They'd been with Near for almost a decade now, and they used to not care about what kind of trouble, they faced. But now it feels different, like they're losing her. Gil, said the times were a-changin'. The order is knocking on the back door while their only chance of survival was laying in the grass like a newborn fawn. Lorik said she never wanted this. Magic, responsibility, and all. What little she used today almost killed her. How can she defeat the order? And why does it have to be her? She should have a choice. Gil said they all have a choice. Lorik said Near didn't. If they didn't use her magic to overthrow the order, then they'd never be free from their reign. The high priest was too powerful. Too many enchantments protecting him. It has to be her. There's no other choice. Gil said some are given worse fates than others. To be sure, Near hasn't had the easiest life, but she's still alive and still fighting. And so long as she's still breathing, they'll keep fighting too. They watched some of the lightning, and Lorik asked if the Enclave lived. If the Enclave lived here, there must be a way inside. Surely they didn't sit here and watch the weather. Gil shook his head and said there is no way to enter the forbidden tombs. They'd end up dead or worse. Lorik again asked what they were going to do. Gil said the only thing they could do. They wait.
Man, what a fucking intense chapter, dude.
Yeah, it was definitely fast-paced.
Yeah, it just, it hooks you right into the action, too. These Dren with their 9 tails and their red spots or blue spots or whatever it was. I can't recall at the moment. But, yeah.
7 tails, red spots, blue blood. Yeah, they're kind of some wild animals.
There we go. That's right. Blue blood. Blue blood, red spots. Yeah. And, overwhelming, too. Like, you think that, they've defeated them, and then, there's more. And there's more. So.
Yeah, but wait, there's more. I don't know how you, like, when I envisioned that scene where she was using her magic to, like, kill him, like, she, the one leapt at her, and she, like, grabbed it by the throat and finished that one off and threw it to the side. But then what I pictured was, like, what I envisioned was the first one leapt at her, and she catches it with her physical hand, right? And she chokes it, tosses it aside. And then the rest, I guess I didn't get the sense that they all leapt at her. Maybe they did, I don't remember. But what I kind of envisioned was almost like a forced choke from Darth Vader. She's got her hands out, and she's just like, and they all just like kind of stop and then get lifted up, and they're, flailing around and being choked to death. That's kind of what I don't know if you felt that was the same or something similar or anything different, but that's kind of what I thought.
I guess the way that I envisioned it was like, of course the choking, and then with like the other hand, she's like firing the blasts of magic at them, kind of like multitasking with the magic or whatever. It is more or less what I envisioned, but I don't know. I guess like I didn't really like when I was reading it, I didn't really like I just envisioned them like attacking almost like simultaneously, like as a herd would.
I got that vibe too.
To me, I was just more focused on like the gravity of the situation. Like, how the hell is she going to get out of this? Like, how is she going to do this? And she did it. And more showed up, and I'm like, oh my god, this is intense.
It just kind of, she keeps digging deeper to just get a little bit more magic out, and and towards the end of the chapter, Lorik says, with the little bit that she used today. Well, to me, it didn't seem like she used a little bit. I felt like she used a lot. Like, okay, well, she had never teleported before, did that. We don't really know how far she went, but it wasn't just her. It was her and 2 other people, and one of them got hurt some, almost lost an arm, but then she had to heal him. Then they get attacked, and she's got to fend those off. And then Lorik gets attacked, and she teleports, a short distance and stabs one in the back. And then I guess, I don't know, I'm not really sure like how long this chase went on, if it was minutes or an hour, for them to get to the cave. But she's still, again, she's trying to use magic again to fend them off. Then they get into the cave and then she heals Lorik. So all these times, she's nearly exhausted or is exhausted, but like just right on that brink, and then just digs a little deeper and digs a little deeper until finally she can't dig any deeper anymore.
Well, I mean, to answer your question with another question, so to speak, but it kind of sounds like the Order of Sorrow, I'm assuming, are or was like using her for her power. And so maybe it's one of those situations where she like doesn't know her own strength kind of situation where she's being a little bit too humble about what it is that she can and can't do as far as her abilities go. So
I can see that. I mean, because Lorik and Gil and her have been running around for 10 years, and she probably hasn't used her magic a lot, but she probably uses it here and there for small things. So she's probably a little bit stronger than she realizes or thinks.
Well, yeah, and she's untrained, So I don't know if it's one of those things where like the Order of Sorrow is like tapping into her power in some way, shape, or form, or like enslaving her in some way, kind of like you would get with the Wheel of Time and the Angreal. No, not the Angreal. What the fuck? The Callers.
Oh, the Idam.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah.
The Shanchi.
So I definitely there's a lot of things that just beg more questions. But yeah, it was a really intense chapter. Just so much going on. And at the beginning, it does such a great job of setting the scene. Like they're in this forbidden land with like these not cannibalistic elves, right? They say they
were
kill them.
They were described as, it said that they would eat flesh.
Yeah. Okay.
So I assume they would be cannibals.
But are they cannibals? Because they're not really eating their own kind. I mean, I'm assuming these guys are human. So
okay, well, you're eating a humanoid.
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, they're in this forbidden land, and they've got these creatures attacking them. And in the beginning, she has no idea like what she did to Gil and Lorik, and just the amount of guilt that she feels is just insurmountable. It's tough to fathom that, and to go through so many mental states in such rapid succession is exhausting.
Yeah.
So
no kidding.
Yeah, I mean, she healed both of them essentially in this chapter, fought off dozens of Dren by herself, and teleported twice. Yeah, like that's what set it all up. So yeah, it was a really good chapter. Not as like informational as the first chapter, just kind of like hooking you right into the action, but some really cool shit. And I remember when you started talking about this book, and I read some of the things from HC's Twitter page about how like it's not for the faint of heart, and it's like really violent and gritty and things like that, which I absolutely love and adore. Like I like that kind of stuff. So
yeah, for sure, me too.
So I've been waiting for a long time to get into this.
Yeah, I'm glad we're doing it. And it's, we're not going to stop with our Malazan. I guess we'll see if we do alternate every other week with them, or, how we decide to do it. But I'm definitely excited to keep reading this book, the next 2 chapters here, and see what we find out. I guess I don't know if you've read beyond the first 2 or not. I have not.
No, I'm following our same format. We won't read until recording. So then that way we're not unintentionally bringing something up within these chapters. So if there are people who, like Malazan, want to follow along, that would be absolutely awesome. Like, let's start some conversations. Or for those that have maybe already read this book and are like, maybe looking for a different perspective or a deeper dive or whatever the case may be, like, bring it on, Happy to have
them. Or maybe I agree, definitely happy to have them. And, but yeah, maybe they just want to reread it in a sense by listening to us.
Right. Or, like folks that have read this series or these books and are waiting for a continuation. Right? She's not done with it, right?
No, the 3rd book is coming out later this summer. Okay. I don't remember when she said.
But it's just a 3-book series, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 books and then 3 novellas.
Okay. Well, anyway, what I was saying is, for those that are waiting to continue and you haven't read Malazan, totally should, and follow along with us on that. And for those that are Malazan following us, give this book a shot. See what you think. It's definitely
Definitely worth it. I mean, I know some of the Malazan covers. People say don't judge a book by the cover, but ultimately we do, right? I mean,
right.
I
Yeah.
know like some of the other like variants or whatever you want to say for the Malazan book covers are pretty freaking cool, from what we've seen, and just totally make me more excited to read them. But even just the first 2 books for this, I'm really excited. Made me really excited for the book, and I'm excited to see what the third cover is going to look like. And I will each one of these books she puts out, I'll buy the collector's edition for each one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be really cool. Great 2 chapters. I'm looking forward to reading on and kind of see what hangs in the balance here, because it sounds like they're in a situation where damned if they do, damned if they don't. So yeah, let's see how they get out of this. Definitely a cliffhanger for sure. And I'm like, how the hell? Can't wait this long. But
well, now we can read on. The only other thing I would add to this, and I don't know if you had as much opportunity to do this in your chapter as I did, but I think like Gil and Lorik, just the way their dialogue is written, I get like Irish or Scottish vibes from it, and I didn't. I didn't try to do a voice for that like I've done with some of the Malazan stuff. I don't think I could pull that off, but that's definitely how I read it in my head, and I feel like that's how it was meant to be. Was something like that. I would think you probably feel the same, but I guess I don't know for sure without asking.
I guess when it comes to accents, I'll read it as it's. What was I saying? Yeah, like as I read accents, like I'll read it, the way that the author wants us to read it. But I guess in my head, I don't put an accent on it. I just read it.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Stuff like that I do. If it's, to me, it felt like I guess I felt like it was meant to be that way, so that's how I read it. But that's just me.
No, that different headcanons.
That's the fun part about it.
Right.
And then we get to come together and do this. So.
But I'll definitely keep that in mind when I read Lorik and Gil, their little dialogue together. So.
All right.
Well, cool, man. I'm not used to episodes ending this soon.
I know what you mean.
Because we've only been talking for a little over an hour now about these 2 chapters. So I guess that kind of aligns with what we wanted to accomplish. We didn't want too much to break off in one, and digestible, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I guess we'll have to see how these next 2 chapters are, but I think we can probably keep this format, and I think that'll be a good way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, cool, man. Well, I don't know if I'll get to reading the next 2 chapters tonight, but definitely on the horizon while we wait to record Malazan.
Yeah. I'll have to see how that goes, because you're going back to Pittsburgh next week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Friday through Monday.
You're leaving Friday?
Not tomorrow, but
right. Yeah, next week. Gotcha.
Yeah, we'll be leaving Friday morning.
Well, we'll have to see how things shake out. I'm going to Iowa this weekend, so we'll have to see when we can get back together and if we can get another recording in before you leave or not. We'll play it by ear, kind of like we always do.
Sounds good to me, man.
All right, man. Well, hey, it was good talking. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too, man.